to not FS22. I want to have a quick run through what we know about precision farming so far. So I'm recording this on the 14th of April, so we're about 5 days away from release. And we've had a bunch of information out from Giant, so I was just going to run through what we know about precision farming for FS22. So it's bringing back a whole load of additional gameplay features that we had in FS19 with precision farming, and it adds in a few new ones as well. So if you played with precision farming in FS19, you'll be familiar with soil types and soil sampling and variable rate fertilizing and lime application, but we're getting variable rate seeding, and we had variable rate manure application in FS19, but this is different, and I'll talk about that in a bit. We're getting the economic analysis back, which we had in FS19 with precision farming. We're getting crop sensors. Now, if you played FS19 on PC, we had those as mods. I'm not sure if they're exactly the same. We'll talk about that again in a bit. We're getting precision weeding, an environmental score for your farm. And all of these different things affect the potential yield you can get off of your fields, potentially increasing it by quite a bit. And I'll cover what the maximum I think that could be as we go through the short set of slides I've got here today. Sorry, I do like my PowerPoint. Potentially it's about a 40% increase in yield. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so let's have a look at some of the things in more detail. Soil types, soil sampling, and crop scanners. So with FS22, we are seeing the same 4 soil types that we had in FS19. So we have loamy sand, sandy loam, and silty clay. And each different soil type affects the yield differently. It affects the amount of lime that you need to apply. So lime is based on soil type. Nitrogen or fertilizing is based on crop type. And the effect on yield from the soil type is between minus 20% and plus 25%. So if you're on loam, you're getting a 25% bonus. And I think if you were on loamy sand, you were taking a 20% hit. And I've got the example soil map for Elm Creek that Giants have published on their website on the screen. And you can see how it varies across the fields. To find out what soil types you've got, we have the soil sampler that we had in FS19. All this time you can also purchase a soil map. So if you don't want to do the soil sampling, you can do that. And we've got the crop sensors, which you can see on the bottom of the screen there. So the Giants information says they detect the nitrogen in the ground or in the crop. When we had these in FS19, because they were a mod, they basically did soil sampling for you. So they would map out the soil type, the amount of the pH of the soil, and the amount of nitrogen. The information on the Giants website currently says nitrogen only, so it will be interesting to see if that is the case. Also, the purchasable soil maps is going to be kind of cool because, you know, you've got a big farm, soil sampling is painful. Variable rate seeding, fertilizing, and lime. So we had variable rate fertilizing and lime spreading in FS19, and if you look on the Giants website, they just link to the information for FS19, so I'm assuming that's the same. Variable rate seeding is new. It only affects wheat, barley, canola, oats, corn, sunflower, and soybean at release. That may change, I guess. And based on the crop and the soil type, you either need low, normal, or high rate seeding. Then you can see down here we have a map of the seeding type that's needed, and I'm assuming that is based on the soil map, and I'm just trying to map that to, because I think that's Elm Creek on there. I can't see which bit of Elm Creek it is easily. So I think that's based on soil type. And crop type, yeah, based on soil type and crop type as to what you need. And I'm not sure if this map, is what's been applied or what needs to be applied. There's a picture off the Giants website. Variable rate manure spreading. So this is different to what we had in FS19. In FS19, you could vary the amount of manure or slurry or digestate you applied manually to help boost your nitrogen levels before you planted. With FS22, They talk about the nitrogen content of manure varying by up to 40%. They only talk about slurry or liquid manure on the website. Not sure if it's going to affect solid as well or digestate. We will have to wait and see for release. But what this means is that the amount of nitrogen you apply as you apply slurry is going to vary. And there will be an option on all of the slurry tankers to add a nitrogen control system, which will automatically adjust the application rate to account for that. And you can see an option for it up here. And as part of precision farming, we are getting the Garant PTR 30.000 liquid manure spreader, which has this technology built into it as well. So yeah, a few questions about this still. Is it just slurry? Is it solid manure and digestate as well? Is it just liquid, so slurry and digestate? I guess we'll see. But kind of cool, kind of realistic, I guess. It would be nice if you could sample your slurry beforehand to find out the nitrogen content and maybe if it was affected by how you raised your animals which produced it. Precision weeding, so we're getting spot weeding. So the big news for me, season style weeds from FS19 are coming back, and we are no longer going to have fields carpeted uniformly in weeds. Precision farming enabled, you will get patchy weeds back, and alongside that they are bringing John Deere's See and Spray technology, which does spot application of herbicide when weeds are detected by the sprayer using cameras, and that gives about a 90% reduction in herbicide use, which saves you money and affects your environmental score, which we'll come on to. And as part of that, we are getting the John Deere R732i power spray, which has that technology built into it, and you can see the option for it on the left hand side there. Be interesting to see if that is built into other sprayers or how easy it is for modders to add it, because this is a DLC, but it's a free DLC. Assuming it behaves like precision farming was for FS19, it's downloaded like a mod, so it's open and not encrypted, so people can see how the mechanics work. So I suspect very quickly there will be tutorials on how to add the See and Spray technology to other sprayers, and people will be releasing mods with that included fairly quickly, I suspect. The environmental score, I guess this is the big one, and this is kind of what precision farming is about, reducing environmental impact, things like that. And for each field and for your overall farm, you'll get a score between 0 and 100, and that gives you another plus or minus 15% on crop yield. So potentially you've got 25% extra from the soil type, and then 15% from your environmental score, which, because these are usually multiplicative, not additive, that can give you an extra 43-ish%, I think it was, bonus on your crop yield, which is quite a lot. It's quite a lot. So it's calculated for each field, and you can see an example of it over here. So we've got fields that are at 74 and 77, and then you get a score for the farm, and that's based on, have you done your soil sampling? Are you using min-till, no-till? So you get penalised for ploughing, and I'll come on to that in a minute. Have you got optimal, not optimal nitrogen levels? Because you can over-fertilise with precision farming, and that's obviously not great because you're wasting fertiliser and putting more chemicals on the land. Do you have optimal pH? And have you got the weeds controlled in the best way possible? And the reduced tillage and the weed control raise questions for me. So and these add up to a score out of 100, and I'm assuming if you get a score of 50, you have no effect on crop yield. Below that, you take a hit down to 0 being minus 50% and 100 being plus 15%. So trying to put this little infographic out, and I'm going to get the other information up on the screen so that I can go through each of these in turn. So soil sampling. If you've sampled your soil, you instantly get 15 points on your environmental score. And that comes from either using the Azaria Scout, as you can see on the back of the John Deere here, or from buying a soil map. So that does say that doesn't include the crop sensor, which we spoke about earlier. So that's interesting. 10 points for reduced tillage. So if you do min-till, so shallow cultivation or direct drilling, you get the 10 point. If you do minimal tillage and direct drilling, you get the 10 points. I'm just quickly scanning through So just a shallow tillage gives you the maximum of 10 points, but the infograph says 5 points, which is interesting. And you get 0 for ploughing because of the extra fuel used and the damage to the topsoil layer. But if you plough, you get rid of weeds, which is the interesting one, because when you come across to weed control, you get 30 points for spot spraying, 20 points for mechanical weeding, 15 points for spraying the whole field, and 10 points for no weed control. But if you plough, you don't need to weed control. So do you get 20 or 30 or 0 or 10? I don't know. That's really not clear. Something people are going to have to play with, I guess. Nitrogen levels. If you've got optimal nitrogen level, then you get the 30 points. And I guess that's a combination. It says you have to use organic fertilizer and a crop sensor for mineral fertilizer. I'm not sure how the game is going to detect that versus you just having optimal fertilization. Again, more to play with and experiment with, I guess. There's quite a few questions around this for me as to how these different things interact. If I don't apply manure, but I get perfect fertilization from using solid fertilizer, does that count? Or liquid fertilizer? Really not clear. The same with the weeds. pH is pretty obvious, really. You know, if you get the pH right, you get 15 points. I guess if you have pH way off, you get 0 points. Soil sampling, pretty easy. Tillage, that's, you know, I guess if you direct drill, you get 10 points. If you know, what's the difference between shallow tillage and minimal tillage? I guess that will probably become clear when we get the mod and we can dig into some more detail. The other thing that was mentioned is there is a free content update coming along with around precision farming. That was mentioned on the Giants podcast. There's a couple of extra tractors coming, I think, from John Deere, so that's going to be kind of cool as well. So yeah, that's my quick run through of what we know about precision farming. If you enjoyed that, click the like button. If you didn't enjoy it, click the dislike button. They both help. Leave some comments below, and if you're not already, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and I'll catch you next time.